Hi everyone, I'm recording this again because it was in a live that I had to take down for that other trial, which I'm not going to mention right now. And I wanted this to be up, and I've also added some information, a little bit of it, to this, and I think it's better in its own video so someone can find it who wanted to hear about this case or who wanted to go back on it. So that's why I'm re-recording it with some new information and putting it back up. So this is the case of Andrew AJ Freund, 5-year-old, who was found in a shallow grave near Woodstock. There's a tragic ending for the missing boy. Parents Andrew AJ Freund told police that his 5-year-old was missing from their Crystal Lake home on a 911 call. Then the boy's father provided information that investigators say led to the discovery of the child's body in a shallow grave in nearby Woodstock. Hours after that, both parents were charged with their son's murder. The shocking news came after a week of sleepless nights for authorities and FBI agents, along with police, who shared what they learned as well as their outrage and emotions. Crystal Lake Police Chief James Black said to AJ, "We know you are at peace playing in heaven's playground and are happy with no longer having to suffer." Black confirmed the news at a press conference after news trickled out that the body was found wrapped in plastic in a shallow grave in rural Woodstock. The site where dozens of law enforcement vehicles converged is about 7 miles northwest of the boy's home. Both the boy's mother, Joanne Cunningham, who's pregnant, and his father, Andrew Freund, Sr., were charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, Black said. In addition, Cunningham, 36, was hit with 4 counts of aggravated battery, 2 counts of aggravated domestic battery, and 1 count of failure to report a missing child or child death. Freund Sr., 60, was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery, 1 count of aggravated domestic battery, 2 counts of concealment of a homicidal death, and 1 count of failure to report a missing child or child death. During interviews with both parents that were conducted by the Crystal Lake Police and the FBI, Freund Sr. provided information that ultimately led to what we believe is the recovery of the deceased subject, AJ, Black said. The cause of death is unknown at this time. I'll be updating that in the slides going forward, and the investigation is ongoing, Black said. FBI Special Agent Jeffrey Sallet expressed outrage, saying, "This is not the outcome that we want to talk about when we come before you, but it is the unfortunate result in this investigation," he said. "Please know that local, state, and federal law enforcement stand side by side to ensure that we follow through and that justice is served. Records show that the family had a lengthy history with the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services after AJ was born with opiates in his system in 2013. But the boy was eventually returned and allowed to remain with the family despite allegations of neglect. The family home on Dole Avenue, authorities say, was also in poor condition, and the family lived without power at times. Police reports document it was full of dog feces, urine, and trash, and had many broken or open windows even in the winter." Officers on Wednesday removed several items from the home, including a shovel, mattress, paper bags, and a plastic storage tub. The family dog was also removed. Hundreds of people attended a vigil Wednesday night in front of the Freund home. A few neighbors who spoke with the Sun-Times said they did not know the family well and rarely saw them. Despite a neighborhood filled with pet owners who would walk their dogs in front of their house, none could recall seeing the children playing in the front yard. Neighbors said they were concerned about the state of the house and had noticed seemingly small details about it and gave them pause, like windows being opened during the winter. One woman who asked not to be identified said she hopes they tear the home down. They should erase it and start over. Another man who lives across the street said that the police were often at the house. Andrew Freund Sr. had lived there for nearly 2 decades at least, he said. They kept the kids inside, and we rarely saw anyone over there, he said. Several neighbors and police have been asking when Andrew was last seen in order to establish a timeline of when he disappeared. It could have been weeks, the man across the street said. A steady stream of mourners, mostly groups of friends and families, arrived at the Friend house as a light drizzle fell last Wednesday. Some brought flowers to place at the makeshift memorial that has sprung up on the front lawn since Andrew was reported missing, while others brought a child's toy to lay in the grass. A multitude of stuffed animals were piled together along bright blue balloons in the shape of stars that bobbed in the breeze. Many held up their phones to take pictures of the memorial after placing the gift they brought. "It's an awfully sad day," said one man who came alone with his camera. A black sedan sat empty in the driveway of the Friend's modest 2-story home. The garage door was shut after authorities left, and the blinds were drawn at each window. The rundown home was in need of paint, and at times had many broken windows and damaged floors inside, police reports show. Lindsay Bryan, 18, grew up in Illinois and Wisconsin and now lives in McHenry. She said she was heartbroken when she learned Andrew's body was found. Bryan, who is 6 months pregnant, brought a stuffed deer to the memorial to leave for Andrew. "Your parents are supposed to be your protectors and providers," she said. "For them to be the polar opposite is just heart-wrenching." Earlier in the week, some 40 people had been involved in the search for the boy, including members of the Illinois State Police, which used small aircraft and sonar teams and boats to scan bodies of water in the area. Police say they confronted Andrew's parents last Tuesday night with evidence gathered through a forensics analysis of cell phone data. Afterward, authorities say they both gave officers the information needed to find their son's body. Andrew has not always lived with his parents, and the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services has been a part of the boy's life since his birth. Jason Strokush, a spokesman for DCFS, said Andrew became a ward of the state as a newborn following allegations of neglect by his mother. Andrew was in someone else's care for about 2 years before being returned to his parents. DCFS was called in twice in 2018 based on allegations of neglect and abuse, but both incidents were determined to be unfounded. AJ's body was found wrapped in plastic in a shallow grave. His parents, Andrew Freund Sr., 60, and Joanne Cunningham, 36, have both been charged with his murder. A pathologist found he died from head trauma due to blunt force injuries, according to a coroner's report. Police responding to a hotline report found a large bruise on AJ's hip in December. At first, he told investigators the bruise came from the family dog. But an emergency room physician noted that AJ later gave a different reason. "Maybe someone hit me with a belt. Maybe Mommy didn't mean to hurt me," he said, according to a Department of Children and Family Services summary of its report. The doctor could not determine the cause of the bruise, but said it could have resulted from a dog, a belt, a football, according to DCFS. The case was closed a month later for lack of evidence. The DCFS released a summary of its records, reports, and documents showing its interaction with AJ's family. It detailed numerous encounters with the family, including 17 unannounced visits between June 2015 and March 2016. At the time, the worker did not observe signs of abuse or neglect. Last week, DCFS received another hotline call alleging neglect and inadequate supervision at the home. The call came on the same day AJ's parents reported him missing. Information from the couple ultimately led to the recovery of his body in Woodstock, about 10 miles from their home in Crystal Lake, police said. The DCFS report revealed a long history of child welfare hotline calls with reports of a troubled home life, squalid living conditions, and drug abuse by the parents. Some of those calls predate AJ's birth. In 2012, DCFS was called on Cunningham twice, once on accusations of abusing prescription drugs and neglecting her foster child, and a second time for environmental neglect and injurious environment for her oldest son. Both reports were found to be unfounded and expunged. 2 days after his birth, a hotline report was called on Cunningham. Both Cunningham and AJ tested positive for opiates and benzodiazepines. AJ was removed from her care, and DCFS took custody of the infant. AJ was returned to the couple 8 months later after both parents took parenting classes and entered a drug treatment program. Authorities have described dog feces and urine throughout the family home with broken windows and a strong smell of feces where AJ and his younger brother slept. AJ's younger sibling was in the home until this week, but is now living with another family. DCFS spokesman Jason Strokosh said. Now, Cunningham, the mother, is 7 months pregnant. So what's going to happen when the baby is born? If she's incarcerated at the time of the birth, DCFS would be contacted by either the hospital where she delivers or the jail or prison where she is housed, said the spokesperson for the State Child Welfare Agency. Medical care for the baby would be the same as if the mother were not incarcerated, he said. The child receives the same care. First and foremost is the safety of that child. Once the baby is able to leave the hospital, he said the agency would take the child into protective custody unless the parents make alternate arrangements to place the child with a relative. We would still monitor that situation, but it would be based on their choice. They would drive that choice. He added that the state typically prefers to place children with other family members when possible. Being removed from a birth parent is traumatic enough in itself, he said. Whenever the process involves people they already know, it reduces the impact of the trauma.